Quote of the day. Some days are for conquering mountains, others are for laying in the grass, looking at clouds, and remembering you're still magic either way. That is the quote of the day. Now let's get right into this video. Now, Smackdown this week, it was, I want to say, decent to mid. Mid to decent, you know? It wasn't anything crazy, anything spectacular, anything too memorable. I don't know. It was decent, I guess. Decent to mid, you know? Like right smack dab in the middle. Yes, it could have definitely been a whole lot worse, and I'm happy it wasn't a whole lot worse. But truthfully speaking, though, the MFTs, Solo Sikoa and his MFTs, as well as John Cena, those two segments definitely made this show a lot better. Without them, this show would have completely been absolute garbage, Those two segments made the show a bit better. Not by a whole lot, but just a tiny bit, But anyhow, though, let's just get right into this review so it's not too long. So, right at the start of the show, we get a scene where it's an accident that happened, a car crash. And it involves Solo Sikoa and his MFTs. And we also saw the Street Profits and BFAB, like around the vicinity. So we don't know what happened. We don't know how it happened. We don't know who caused the accident or what it was caused by or how it was caused. We don't know anything about it. So we just see that. We see a gruesome scene where there was a huge car crash in the parking lot. So then it was, announced that this story will be developed throughout the whole show. We're going to get more investigations. We're going to get more details into what happened. And I'm like, right off the bat, I'm like, this is pretty silly. Y'all got like cameras, outside the arena, Stop playing like, if it was actually, whatever, you didn't have a suspect like in 0.2 seconds. Like, stop playing. But anyhow, though, all that goofiness aside, they're like, okay, throughout the whole show we're gonna have investigations. We need to get to the bottom of this and find out who it was. I'm like, all right. So that's what we got. It was a huge accident scene. Solo Sikoa got into an accident. Somebody supposedly crashed into him in his car and into the MFTs. And funny enough, there was this big accident, right? But the only person who got injured, the only person who was hurt, the only person who was bleeding was Tonga Loa. I'm like, come on. Was he the only person in the car? Like, what are you talking about? Why is he the only one with like a busted eyebrow or whatever? I'm like, that was funny to me. I'm like, why is Tonga Loa the only banged up one? But anyhow, though, like I said, this was a developing story throughout the whole show. But before we even got into like our first match or anything, we got a little segment in the beginning of the show as well. It was just Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair talking about their shortcomings at Evolution, saying, Alexa Bliss was basically talking to Charlotte. She was like, I understand. I know what you're going to say. You don't want to be part of this tag team anymore, and it's completely fine. I promised you the tag team championships, and we failed to deliver. I know what you're going to say. I already know you. You're going to say you don't want to be part of this tag team, and it's fine. We'll go our own separate ways. And then Charlotte is like, Blister, when have you ever known me to go half on anything, If I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to go all the way, And just because we didn't win at Evolution doesn't mean I'm through with this, which I'm really liking this arc for Charlotte Flair, this development, this like new side of her, like they're actually successfully turning her baby face now. Successful, like they should have did in the first place instead of trying to force a baby face, out of Charlotte who wasn't even ready for that, But I'm really liking this. Like they're growing on me so much. They're probably like my favorite women's tag team at the moment. So it's announced that Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair will be facing off against the Judgment Day at Summerslam in a tag team championship match. Anyhow, though, after this, we got the match. It was Charlotte Flair versus Raquel Rodriguez, just a random match just because it was already announced that we'll have the tag team match at SummerSlam, but I guess they just want to, show the women, like, I don't know, build them up a little bit more. But we got Charlotte Flair versus Raquel Rodriguez. This match wasn't anything special. It wasn't horrible either, but it just wasn't anything special. I don't want to call it horrible. It definitely wasn't horrible. It was entertaining at parts, but like not the whole match. There wasn't even too many spots in this match either, not too many memorable things. So I don't know. This match was just there, but anyhow, some highlights. Charlotte Flair ended up hitting a crossbody over the ropes dive on Raquel Rodriguez. Raquel Rodriguez picked up Charlotte Flair and sent her flying face first into the ring post. Raquel Rodriguez did this catching roll through tornado power slam on Charlotte Flair, which looked pretty impressive. Charlotte Flair ended up beating Raquel Rodriguez by roll-ups. So Roxanne Perez tried to interfere on Raquel Rodriguez's side, and Alexa Bliss just hopped on the ring apron. She's like, you know what? Two can play that game. And Alexa Bliss interferes in the match while the referee's distracted, and then that's how Charlotte's able to win by roll-up. And I'm like, if you didn't want like a clear winner in this match, just have a different matchup. I don't like these like roll-up finishes, these 50-50 things, like nobody can win cleanly now. It's kind of annoying. Like just have, if you didn't want them to beat the other team, if you don't want either team to lose, just have a different matchup, where like Charlotte Flair could win cleanly and that builds her up more, that builds the tag team up even more. Like if you're having roll-ups don't mean anything. Roll-ups are as meaningful as no contest matches in my eyes, honestly. And not any type of roll-ups. Roll-ups by cheating at that. Like, come on. But anyhow, though, after this, we got a really funny backstage segment where there was cops, investigators. They were out here investigating, trying to figure out how the car crash happened. And then we got a scene where the cops were talking to Adam Pearson. They're like, you know what? Where's Jacob Fatu? Because he's supposedly a person of interest in this case. We want to talk with him. We want to have a little chat with him. We want to investigate him. Take us to Fatu. Yeah, I mean. But yeah, so they were like, we want to investigate Jacob Fatu. Where is he? And then Adam Pierce ended up having to bring the cops to Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu was like, dude, what are they doing here? I ain't got nothing to do with this. Why do you want to investigate me? I don't know nothing that happened. This doesn't have anything to do with me. But Adam Pierce was like, please just comply and go along with it and go with them so they could get the investigation done. So that happened. After this, though, we got a video package promo segment. It was from both Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton. And since both of these women are unable to cut a promo in the ring and on the mic, this was a good call, respectfully. I'm happy they did a video package promo instead, This was respectfully a great call, in my opinion. And let me tell you, this was one of the few Tiffany Stratton segments, promo segments in general, that I have actually been able to sit through and watch through. But anyhow, after that, though, we got our second match of the night. It was Mr. Him, Mello Don't Miss, Carmelo Hayes versus Damian Priest. They had a little backstage altercation that led to this match happening. Carmelo Hayes was basically telling Damian Priest, I told you so. I warned you about Aleister Black. You don't want to listen. Now look what happened to you. And then Damian Priest was like, you got a big mouth on you. Meet me in the middle of the ring. He was like, and then Carmelo Hayes is like, I'd hate for you to have to get laid out 2 weeks in a row. And I found that pretty entertaining. Like, Carmelo Hayes has a personality. He has the physique. He has the charisma. I'm like, dude, push this man. Put him in an actual story. Like, stop wasting him back in catering. Anyhow, though, some highlights from this match. Like I said, though, I was thinking, I'm like, I don't even remember the last Carmelo match I've seen, And I'm glad at least he's getting some airtime now. I hope this continues. This match was absolutely carried by Carmelo Hayes, though. Don't mistake it. Carmelo Hayes absolutely carried this match with his moveset. But anyhow, though, like I said, some highlights. Mello attacks Damian Priest way before the bell even rings. After that, though, the match ended up starting. They brawled into the outside area a little bit. Carmelo Hayes ended up dropping Damian Priest on the outside. Then he drop kicked Damian Priest into the ring post, which looked pretty cool. Carmelo Hayes hit a springboard corkscrew cross body, which looked amazing. Carmelo Hayes then ended up reversing a chokeslam into a code breaker. And I was like, dude, I love that reversal so much. It looked so clean. Carmelo Hayes then hit a From the Heavens frog splash on Damian Priest. Damian Priest then goes to hit the old school move on Carmelo Hayes. Undertaker's old school. That's what the move is called, the old school. Aleister Black comes out of nowhere. He interferes in the match. He pulls Damian Priest's leg. He hits Damian Priest with a black mass. And the match ends up ending in a no contest. And I'm like, come on. Can't we just get one clean finish? We can't get clean finishes anymore. Like, that just doesn't exist. Jesus Christ. And I'm like, you know what? Thinking about it too, I'm like, if it was a clean finish, Carmelo Hayes definitely wouldn't have won anyway. So at least that kind of saved Carmelo Hayes' persona a little bit more, and doesn't make him look completely weak. I guess. I don't know. I'm trying to look for the bright side in this. Don't mind me. I'm trying to make sense out of this nonsense. After this, though, we got a pretty cool, pretty neat Wide 6 video package promo. They're cryptic video package promos that you have to jump through 50 hoops to understand. We got that, but the whole gist of this video package promo from the Wide 6 was basically them saying that they're coming for it all. They're coming for everything, the championships, every superstar, everybody better watch out, and they're just warning everyone that we're here now and we're here to stay and we're here to cause damage. So watch out. We don't care who you are. We don't care what championship you got. We don't care what it is, whose blood that has to be shed. We're coming for everyone. And it was pretty cool. After this, though, we got our first segment of the night. It was the Solo Sikoa and the MFT's in-ring promo. So Solo Sikoa, JC Mateo, Tangaloa, Tamatanga, Talatanga, Chimichanga, Lakers in 5. So we got a in-ring promo from them. Solo Sikoa basically comes out and he says, tonight is a perfect example of who Jacob Fatu is. Fatu is reckless and he only cares about himself. Solo Sikoa says, I gave Fatu the world and he didn't deserve none of it, but I still gave him the world. But I guess it's true what they say. Once a criminal, always a criminal. And then we get a backstage camera shot where Jacob Fatu is getting unloaded out of the police car. And they say Fatu's released from investigation, right? The cops are like, we've investigated the footage. Fatu is completely 100% innocent. And they look at Fatu, and they tell Fatu, go handle your business. Go do what you got to do, right? And Fatu curses at the cops. I'm like, that was pretty funny. I'm like, y'all didn't hear that? They still got the handcuffs, Fatu. Be careful. But yeah, he curses at the cops, and then he just walks away, and he's like, all mad. He got business to handle. So Fatu gets out of the car. Jimmy Uso was waiting for him too, which was pretty funny. He was like, yo, free my dog. And I found that pretty funny. Yaramin, Fatu, Fatu. Anyhow, though, Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu end up completely wiping out everyone. And I mean wiping out. They obliterate, they destroy Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. I'm like it wasn't even once. It wasn't like 50-50 or like even 70-30. It 100%. Jimmy Uso and Jacob Fatu completely obliterated Solo Sikoa and the MFTs. Like they weren't even threats, Talatonga included. After the huge brawl ensues, Fatu ended up beating everybody with a steel chair. Jimmy Uso was holding his own as well, facing off against everyone, JC Mateo, Talatonga, all this and all that. After all this happens, it turns out that Solo Sikoa actually tried to frame Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu was completely innocent. Solo Sikoa was trying to frame him, trying to set up a whole scene, and we found that out. I'm like, I wish they showed the footage. So we found out, like, it's like, show us, don't tell us, that type of mentality. I'm like, why are you telling us instead of showing it? But like, it was just announced that Solo Sikoa framed Fatu, and that's just what we have to believe. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I wanted to see it, but you don't get what you want, I guess. And it's announced that now at SummerSlam, we're going to get a match between Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa. It will be for the U.S. Championship, and it will be a steel cage match, which should be pretty cool. It should be pretty cool. It should be pretty amazing. It should be pretty entertaining. And the funny part from the segment is that they end up handcuffing Solo Sikoa and walking him out of the arena. And I was laughing. You should have seen the look on Solo's face. After this, though, we got like probably the quickest match I've seen in a while. It was Stephanie Vaquer versus Alba Fire. It was a 1-on-1 match just because this match was announced. I'm like, why is this even happening? Stephanie Vaquer is over there on Raw. Why is she even here? But they're like, oh, because the Secret Service attacked Nikki Bella. I'm like, Nikki Bella couldn't show up and fight for herself? Like, dude, come on. But after this, though, like, we got the match. It was literally like a 2-minute match at most. I don't even know what to say about this match. It was like 4 moves. I swear it was like 4 moves. Highlights from this match, surprisingly enough. Alba Fire ended up hitting a suicide dive. Stephanie Vaquer hit the Devil's Kiss. Stephanie Vaquer hit her finisher, the SVB, for the win. And that was literally your whole match. I kid you not, that was your whole match. Your whole entire match. After this, though, we got a backstage segment. It was the Street Profits. They were getting interviewed backstage, and it's like, apparently, BFAB is back with this group now. I don't know why. She's still not doing anything. I don't know why she's there. She's just there to be there. But the Street Profits say, you know what? White Six took our championships off us. We're going to get it back. We still want the smoke. We're going to get it back sooner than later, and that was that. And then we got to our last match of the night, which was probably the match of the night. We got to our last match of the night, which was the match of the night. It was the tag team fatal 4-way number 1 contenders match for the tag team titles. Winners are the number 1 contenders. So it was a tag team fatal 4-way. It was DIY versus Motor City Machine Guns versus Faxium versus Rey Fenix and Andrade. And throughout this match, I was thinking, like, why isn't the Street Profits participating in this? Like, they just lost the championships. They can't be in this match to, get a chance at, facing off against the White Six again. Like, why do you have these random teams with the Street Profits who just lost it, who were champions? They don't get the opportunity to even win a whew. And I'm like, why don't the Street Profits even get an opportunity to earn a shot at the championships again? Like they don't even talk about the rematch clause, nothing. They're just like, we're letting it go. We're going to get it at some point. I'm like, come on, man. Triple H is not beating the allegations. I'm going to tell you this much right now. And I'm seeing through it, okay? Triple H is not beating these allegations anytime soon. But overall, though, this match, for a majority of it, was just an all-out brawl. Everybody was in the ring. Everybody was on the outside. It was just every man for himself, every team for himself, And this was definitely match of the night. It was very entertaining. There was a lot of cool spots throughout this match. And Andrade, at the end, ended up pinning Tommaso Ciampa for the win. And Team Phoenix and Andrade end up winning, and they are your new number 1 contenders for the tag team championships, the Smackdown tag team championships. Then we got to our main event. It was the John Cena and Cody Rhodes contract signing. So Cody Rhodes comes out in the middle of the ring. He starts talking nonsense for the first part of it, and I was like, okay, I started tuning it out. So he started talking about stuff that actually related to the story. Cody Rhodes talks, he says, Since I've come back to WWE, I have yet to flinch once at any of my opponents, at any of the moments that happened. I did not flinch when I had to face off against the OTC Roman Reigns. I did not flinch when I had to face off against the final boss, The Rock. No matter what opponent I had to face, I faced them head on. No matter what the adversity was, I faced it head on. No matter the obstacles, I was there. I didn't flinch. However, though, against John Cena at WrestleMania, I did flinch, and that costed me my championship. And that is a mistake I will not make again. I will not flinch this time around. And then John Cena's theme song hits. John Cena comes out and he sits down. He says, "Cody, sit down. We got to talk. This is real. We have to talk. This is serious." John Cena then announces. He says, "I will not be able to participate at SummerSlam. I will not be at SummerSlam. Period. I won't be in the match. I can't make it to SummerSlam because I have a big Netflix movie to film." I was like, "Nonsense. Get this off my screen right now. What you talking about? What you mean you're not gonna be at SummerSlam?" I'm like, "Stop playing with me. Stop playing with me right now. Quit playing with me." But John Cena's like, "Cody, I won't be at SummerSlam, so this match can't happen. I have a big Netflix movie to film." I was like, "Okay, okay." And John Cena says, "I've already talked to higher ups, I've already talked to the board, I've already talked to the directors, I talked to everyone." He says, "It's already set in stone. I can't be at SummerSlam. This match can't happen. I'm busy and I'm not emotionally ready or physically ready for this match. So it can't happen. I'm out. I won't be at SummerSlam." And I found this pretty funny, And John Cena looks at Cody Rhodes dead in the eyes. He's like, "And this is what's best for business." John Cena ends up just getting up. He walked out of the ring. He doesn't sign the contract, and Cody Rhodes has enough of this. Cody Rhodes attacks John Cena from behind, and then John Cena ends up brawling a little bit. John Cena sends Cody Rhodes flying into steel steps. Cody Rhodes ends up picking up John Cena's championship or snatching it out of John Cena's hand, and he smacks John Cena in the face with the undisputed championship. Cody Rhodes puts John Cena through a Slim Jim table with an off the top rope splash, and then he forces John Cena to sign the contract. So he just picks up John Cena's hand and he makes the signature, which should not hold up in court. Okay, John Cena can come back and say he was in distress, he was attacked, and he wasn't aware of signing this contract. That is completely valid. But yeah, Cody Rhodes forces John Cena to sign the contract, and the match will be happening at SummerSlam, and it's gonna be a street fight now. It's announced that John Cena will face off against Cody Rhodes in a street fight for the Undisputed Championship at SummerSlam. And that was your whole show. That was your ending segment, and that was it. But like I said, though, this show was decent to mid to decent. Overall, though, I'd probably rate this show a solid 5 out of 10. Besides the MFT segment and the John Cena and Cody Rhodes segment, this show was absolutely completely mid, aside from one match, literally. So I can't rate it too high. I gotta be realistic. So with all that in mind, I'm rating this show a solid 5 out of 10. There was only 2 good segments and 1 good match on a whole 2-hour show. And I feel like 5 out of 10 is even being generous at that. But anyhow, though, that was your Smackdown this week. That was my review. That was my breakdown. And those were my thoughts and opinions. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening, and thank you for showing up. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. Like, comment, and subscribe if you'd like to. And like, comment, and subscribe if you choose to. As always, it's been a pleasure. I'm out.